It's Miriam Smout. I am founder and creator of Redemption Mamas. Actually, I have to give credit to where it really came from. That's the Heavenlies up above. It was a download 7 or 8 years ago for me to really step into a role of mentoring women in a more, I guess, intentional way. And so I created Redemption Mamas. That was my heart. My heart was very much to see women healed of deep wounds, reclaim their personal power, and unlock God-given destiny. And that is done in my sphere, my realm, through spirit-led, intuitive heart healing. It's an incredible journey that I've been on now for 20 odd years, perhaps, of just that heart healing journey. And it's been a while of putting words and framing language around what it is that I do, what it is that my giftings are, what I bring into that space. But what I can say is that I've experienced incredible release and freedom in my own life. I'm still married today by the grace of God and the fact that I did a heart healing journey. For quite a long time, I was pointing the finger. If only he, if this or that changed. And it was as I took accountability and embraced change into my own heart and my own life that an incredible result has ensued because of not just being married still today, but, you know, just my own peace, my own ability to stay grounded and not get triggered, get into the cycles, you know, patterns, get poked, all that stuff. Whoops, sorry. So I have been running these Come Taste and See workshops for the purpose of exploring what heart healing is, sharing with you what heart healing is, the process, and just the ways that I've been able to embrace that journey in my own life and for myself. But I'm so excited to do this with other women. And so I've been mentoring women now for, I don't know, a long time, a few decades. The more decades I add on to that number, the like, whoa, that's pretty amazing. But it's been an amazing journey. It's been super, super wonderful. And so this new series of workshops, I've been just going back and interviewing women I've journeyed with, women that I know have had a heart healing journey and they've experienced that maybe not purely working with me, but through other forms and modalities that they've stepped into. So it's been really exciting. And when I started this journey online, maybe 7, 8 years ago, I really struggled to put language around what it was that I was doing. And, you know, I was just really, what people would say, what do you do? And I'd be like, I don't know how to explain it. And I felt a bit dorky and stupid. But along the way, I met a beautiful woman, Candice. Candice is a copywriter. Well, was a copywriter, but she's a tremendously gifted woman with words. She has done the copy for me over some years. And when we first met, she was saying to me, so Miriam, what is it you do? And again, I was struggling to explain what I did. And so I said, why don't I do what I do with you? And then you can give me words because you're so gifted in that area around what I do. And so that's what we did. We started a journey together. It was really exciting. And so today I am very excited to welcome Candice. Now, we did try last week and it was a disaster. So I abandoned ship and pulled the pin. But this week I have a tradesman that's come to bang and thump around the place. So please excuse any bangings and clangings. It's a bit of work going on outside. But let's just bring Candice on, and we've recorded this, and I'll play it now. She shares a lot about her story, her journey, and she's a very authentic, real, genuine person. So, Candice, welcome.
Hi, Mariam.
Wow. Well, well, well. I am getting messages from you beautiful people that we are frozen and you can't hear. This is really remarkable because Candace's story is obviously one that needs to be heard, but we're having this interesting dilemma with actually hearing it. Um, Curious about what's going on here. We're both frozen and you can't hear. Ah, bother, bother, bother. I have no idea why that is happening right now. My apologies. I'll just check. I'm just having trouble. How's that working? Is that working? Just let me know if you can hear. Just curious, did you hear that? Did you hear that little snippet that I started off again there? Waiting for some messages to come through. My apologies. This is really interesting. The second week now that I've had technical issues and can't really say why. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start that interview again and I'm going to watch on my end on my phone and see what's happening. I'll be back if this is an issue. Here we go. All right. I can see on my phone it is not playing. It is just me and Candace and that's it. That's really very disappointing. Anyway, let's have a look. Must be an important message. Yes, it is an important message. I might see if Candace can jump on live with me next time so that we don't have this disruption. Wow, wow, wow. I might actually put that interview up in my Redemption Mamas Facebook group because it's really worth watching. Candace talks about her journey of being adopted. And when I met Candace, there was quite a lot of, I guess, pain she carried and hurt, and she talks about this in the interview. So I'm not talking out of line. I really have a heart for keeping confidential what people share with me. That it's not my job to tell people their story, but if they're willing to tell their story, then that's just so precious. But for Candace, really acknowledging what was in her heart, that was a big part of the journey. Like she knew something was there. She knew that there was this blockage, this thing that just kept getting in the way, and she had to live and work and move around it. But she didn't really understand what it was and where it had come from. And having been adopted and her story and her journey of all that meant as she went through, part of the journey in Heart Healing with Candace was to go back in the spirit. We can go, there is no limit in the spirit, in time or space. There is no limit. There is no time limit. There is no space limit. And we were able to go back and really connect with the little Candace and what was going on for her. What was the cry of her heart? And so the cry of her heart that had never really been heard or processed. And that happens so often in our lives. We experience life things, life throws us curveballs, and then we find that we haven't had a journey to be able to process it. We haven't had people in our life that have asked us questions about, how are you going with that? Is everything okay? Mostly in those times and in those situations, other people are doing their own, frenetic duck underwater kind of trying to paddle to stay afloat. And particularly in marriage breakups, in adoption, all of those kind of childhood experiences, those people are wounded and hurt. They're not processing their own heart healing or their own wounds in a way that's helpful for them, let alone be thinking and embracing you as some little life. Really, we as parents sometimes get a bit self-centered and a bit self-focused, and we don't think about the impact that it might be having on those around us and how we can help them. But for me, that was very much because I didn't know how to help myself. I didn't know how to bring healing into my own space. So the heart matters. There's issues in our life that are actually heart matters that become incredibly wounding, and we carry them. We carry everything through them. I know someone who you just have to look at them one way and they interpret it as an offence, or you say what is well intentioned in your own life or your own heart and it's taken wrongly by that person. And from when it leaves your mouth to when it gets into their ears, there's a twisting that happens because we have a filter. We have a filter in our brain. Our soul filters what we hear. It filters what we feel, and it gets pushed through that filter of what we know, of what the memories are inside. And so when we have memories that haven't been healed, we will always filter what information we get through that painful memory, through that hurt. It's like we breed dogs, and we often meet people down the beach. And the other day I met a man who's got this huge, like greyhound mixed with something. It's a massive dog. And our dogs are little, they fit in our lap. They're miniature schnauzers and schnoodles. Well, he said to me, "Your dogs are upsetting my dog." And what they were doing was just going up to it like dogs do, having a sniff and wanting to, meet. And this dog was getting agitated, and he was, it was clear he was getting agitated. And I thought, so it's my job to manage everything so you feel okay about your dog. I didn't say that to him, but I said, "Oh, is your dog a rescue dog?" And he said, "Yes." And I thought, there you go. That explains what's happening right now. This dog has got trauma from perhaps a little dog that bullied it, hurt it, attacked it. I don't know. But that was way, our dogs are very gentle and they're friendly, a little bit too sticky beaky and curious, but that's the whole point. That these dogs were frightening this dog who was like 10 times their size. But unfortunately, the wound, the trauma that dog was carrying was every little dog is scary. Every little dog is terrifying. And that's what we're like. When we have a wound on our soul, a wound on our heart, we filter everything through that memory. And it can be completely irrational. And we can know that it's completely irrational, but we don't know what to do about it. First step is to acknowledge there's something there, that there's a wound that needs healing, and acknowledging what's in our heart, acknowledging that there is a woundedness, something that needs healing, something that needs restoration. Instead of blaming everybody else or telling everybody else, you can't say that, or you can't speak like that, or you can't be like that, because if you are, it makes me feel bad. That's not taking accountability for what's in our heart that needs healing. And for me, in my marriage journey, while I thought if they just fix my husband, everything will be okay, in actual fact, I had to take accountability for some things in my own life that I really had no idea were impacting the way I filtered what my husband said, how he related to me. And when you get caught up in a cycle of wanting everyone else to change to fit what's good for you, that is actually tipping into a narcissistic kind of way of living, because it's control and it's saying you need to do this so I feel okay. It's codependency. And when we are using those strategies to try and manage our life, we're never, ever going to get better. We're only going to get worse, because what will happen is we have to control more. We have to gaslight more. We have to continue to dig a deeper well to be able to make ourselves feel okay. So heart healing, the matters of the heart, are something that are incredibly important to address and to bring healing to. So I would like to share with you, let's get this sorted. Today, something that I've put together which helps to see some of the fruit. And so I'm so sorry Candice's interview didn't work, but I need to get her. Obviously, 2 weeks in a row now that this has happened. Very interesting, because I have done it the same way before and it has worked quite well, but not at the moment. So heart healing is that journey of unpacking what are those wounds, what are the things inside of us that are hurting. We just sometimes don't even know, we're not aware, because we're so far removed from the memory. It might have been a memory in very early childhood. And so we don't go back and think about that. We don't think, oh gosh, that was awful. I remember that was horrible. We just adapt behaviors and habits and responses and reactions to the things that happen to us. Things like, the pain of abuse, traumas, rejection, abandonment. You just can name so many things, loss, betrayal, disappointment, grief. All of these things, they become wounds on our heart that start to really block us or stop us from truly being who we are, the authentic, genuine person that we are. I mentioned some of these, like anger. Anger is something that sometimes we can claim that it is our personality. I've heard people say, I'm just an angry person. No, you were never created to just be an angry person. That is not who you are. That is a wound on your heart. And what you filter through that wound is pain. And so it makes you angry. And it's interesting, I've learned over the years that anger is actually not a primary emotion. It's a secondary emotion. The primary emotion for anger is usually grief. That where we might be actually really grieving a loss or grieving a hurt or grieving something that has caused us a deep wound. When someone touches on that and they trigger that, it's going to make us angry. So anger is actually a secondary emotion, not a primary emotion. Grief is the primary emotion, but both of these are wounds on our heart. And when we filter our reactions and we filter our emotional responses and our words through anger and grief, we vomit that out on other people, and it doesn't make us very lovely or very endearing to the people around us. Rejection is a huge one. People who have experienced rejection, very often it's very young in childhood, then they carry this perception of who they are. We carry the perception that we're just not a worthy person. We're not a nice person. We're not someone to be valued, treasured, and loved. And that is a lie, because it's not who we were created to be. It's just a wound on our heart that's telling us a lie. Betrayal, when we've been betrayed in family relationships, marriage relationships, any sort of relationship, friendships, that puts a wound on our heart. And we can filter every other friendship or every other relationship through that wound. So when you see people divorced, remarried, divorced, remarried, divorced, remarried, it's often because they've never brought healing to the very first betrayal, the very first point when that breakdown happened in their life, in their relationship. And very often it's not even anything to do with the marriage, but it's something that goes back even earlier. So heart healing is about getting back to the memory, uncovering the memory that needs to be revealed so we can bring healing to our heart. Disappointment, shame. Shame is a huge one. You know, we can believe that we are not worthy to even be loved, not worthy to be known by other people. We can go and hide into our little cages and our little hidey holes because we just feel so much shame for what's happened. And over my life, some of the things that have happened, you know, when I've had breakdowns with relations with my couple of my daughters, and they made choices and decisions that were so far removed from their years of, you know, growing up and being in, you know, under my nurture. It brings shame. You know, it took me several years to really separate myself from that shame and realize, do you know, it's just the choice that someone else made. It doesn't actually have to reflect that I'm a bad mother. But of course, the lie was already there, the shame was already there from previous years of, you know, early years of my experience. And until I brought healing to that shame, I wasn't free to then filter my mothering and who I was as a mother, my intentions. And, you know, none of us are perfect and none of us get it completely right. But I was able to be released from the shame that I felt of not having been the mother that I wanted to be. Self-hatred. Now, this is a really big one, and this manifests in our body. You know, diabetes is often a result of not healing that wound of hating yourself. How did that start? What's the root? What brought about the beginnings of self-hatred? People often with severe acne, you know, it's stuff is trying to get out and it's just not able to get out. And often that results in just hating yourself. But that's not the wound so much as it's reflecting something deeper inside of us that needs healing. So getting down into the roots and getting down to really understand what's in our heart, then we start to find that journey of healing, because knowing it, getting to know what it is like about 90% of the journey, and dealing with it is not so hard. It's not hard at all. So when we have a wounded heart, I just love this image because it just really reflects to me the truth of the wounded heart. We live in a bubble. We can't go outside of the boundaries we set for ourselves. Maybe we can't have another relationship. Maybe we think, well, I'll never be able to be in relationship with my children again. Maybe that wounding on our heart just tells us I'm just never worthy to be valued, treasured and loved for who I am. I'll never be able to step into my purpose, the calling, the assignment that I've been created on this earth to complete, because we're trapped. We're trapped inside the wounded heart, and we create that bubble. We create the world around us to try to protect ourselves, to become self-protective, because we don't want to hurt. No one wants to hurt. No one wants to be living in pain. When we choose to become self-protecting, then we are putting ourselves in that bubble that's going to limit us. It's going to prevent us from being able to live our life to the full, to reclaim our personal power, to unlock the God-given destiny, because those wounds are still there and we're filtering everything through them. So this is how I see the wounded heart looking. You know, when we bring healing to the anger, we'll find peace. When we bring healing to the grief, we'll find joy. When we bring healing to the rejection, we'll believe that we are worthy to be valued. We bring healing on that black spot, that dark space on our heart. When we bring healing to the betrayal, we can believe that we are treasured. That betrayal will no longer be the dark filter that we we live our life through, believe the lies about. When we bring healing to the disappointment, we can live in hope and start to bring life back to our soul, start to bring life back to our spirit, and it's going to be manifested in our body through health and hope and joy and peace, and people will see it on our faces. When we bring healing to the shame, we start to embrace worth, that we are a worthwhile person, that we are worthy to be valued, treasured, and loved for who we truly are. When we bring healing to that self-hatred, we will start to believe that we are loved, that we are worthy to be loved, that we can be loved and accepted for who we are. So when we do the heart healing journey, we start to eliminate those dark spots off of our life. We start to bring the light of Jesus, the light of God onto those dark places. And we can be believers and walking in faith. We can be pre-believers, wondering, is there a God or isn't there a God? But while we have those dark spots, our revelation and insight will never be in the light. It will never be in love, in the fullness of love, in the fullness of our true worth, because those dark places, they take away, they rob, they destroy our identity. So bringing heart healing to your life is very much about restoring your identity, restoring your true identity, the true, genuine, authentic you that is worthy to be valued, treasured, and loved. And so all the things in our past, all the lies, all the traumas, all the junk that's been dumped on us through relational constructs of our past, they do not have to be reflected in us going forward. We can bring healing to that. Changing your past means doing something different. If you continue to do the same old, you will get the same old. Heart healing, and this was one of the questions I asked Candace, and I'd love for her to share her answer. I asked her, how did you find stepping into the heart healing journey? For me, it was quite terrifying. I was terrified because I thought, if I unpack some of the kind of stuff that I sensed or knew might be there, that I just might be undone. But the truth was, I was already unraveling. I was already undone. I was just trying to be that bubble, around my heart, trying to protect myself and stop myself from everybody knowing that I was undone. So I really encourage and challenge you, don't waste time. Don't waste years. I wish that I'd done this 40 years ago, but it wasn't a thing. We weren't taught about the journey of bringing healing. We were just, we were taught, like, if you just do this and you just do that and you just do more of this and do more of this and don't think about it and just, ignore it. Well, for me, that worked maybe till I was in my 30s. But in my 30s, I started to have a real identity crisis. I had 3, then 4, then 5 children. So life was pretty hectic. But underlying all of that, where I should have had so much joy and richness in my life, I was just struggling every day. And the unraveling became more and more evident until in my 40s, I couldn't deny it. I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so I tried to silence the voices. I tried to, just be stoic, like my mother's generation would have just been, just don't think about it. But it became something that I just couldn't not think about because it kept popping up in front of my face over and over. So to break the patterns and the cycles, to create the new pathways, to create the new mindsets, to create the new flow of love and life and energy from deep down within, from our spirit man into our heart, and head and heart connecting. And that was a big one for me, that in my heart I wanted this, but in my head I was just blocked and stopped. And it wasn't until I brought heart I'd started that heart healing journey, stepped into that heart healing space, that I was able to connect with the true, authentic, genuine me. So there you go. There's a little snippet of heart healing. It's very much about healing the memories, healing the matters of our heart that are unresolved, that sit there, that just never go away, because when we're trying to live around it, it's like walking on eggshells. When we try and live around it, it's just always having to control and manage everybody else, because we aren't able to control our inner world. We aren't able to control our inner spaces, the spaces of our heart. So I wanted to share a little bit about the journey that I take people on in that heart healing space, and just see if I can grab this. So when somebody says, yeah, I would like a heart encounter, that's what I call them, because very much that's what they are. They're encounters with your heart, your ability to just be able to lean in and listen to your heart and listen to what your heart is saying. It does take a process. And for some people, it's just amazing. They'll say, oh, I've never heard my heart. I've never listened to my heart. I don't know what that's going to look like. And they feel like they can't really share or, hear what their heart might be saying to them. But the amazing thing is that when you sit and you start to listen to what your heart is saying, it's the still small voice within, a beautiful still small voice that is speaking to you, and it's wanting to engage with you and tell you what's going on deep down inside of us. So just saying yes to that space, just saying yes to that opportunity is the most powerful thing, one of the most powerful things that you can do. I'm having technology fun today. Here we go. Found it. So what I'm going to do is just share my screen with you again so that you can see. This is a heart encounter template where, when we spend an hour and a half together, if it needs to be a little bit longer, it's a little bit longer. We ask questions. It's very much about, when you're sitting down with someone, say you haven't seen somebody for a while and it's your heart. You haven't encountered your heart for a while. You haven't had that opportunity to sit and listen to somebody, and you don't know what's been going on in their life. What do? What's the process for actually encountering that person, encountering your heart? The process is questions. And so as we ask questions, we start to really unpack what's going on. And we'll often start with, well, today, what's on your heart today? And sometimes someone might say, just don't know. That's fine. We just start with asking questions. But often people will come with, an issue, like something that's on their heart and they're really concerned about. And as we start to ask the questions, there might be some insight that comes out for them, for me, and we investigate that. There might be some prayer that we need to break some generational chains and stuff that is baggage. Baggage is the best word for it. Generational baggage that no longer is serving us well. There might be some actions that we need to take. And at the very end, there'll always usually be some action steps. So you go away with a bit of a plan of how you move forward. Some of the action steps might be declarations. It might be actually having to do something. It's so uniquely personal that it's not going to be the same thing for everybody. So this is a very simple template. It's not, it's very simple because I just wanted to show what that looks like. It's just a summary of what happens. And so as we go through, I'll be making notes, and I do that because it's easier for you if I'm making the notes and then I send them to you. And then also you receive a video, a recording of the video of our time together. And that's really helpful because if you want to go through and be refreshed on some of the processes that we use in breaking some of the generational baggage and lifting off some of the bringing out some of the heart issues, then I want you to be empowered and equipped to be able to do this for yourself, but even more excitingly, to do it for other people. And so I've been working on the mentoring project. It's taking me a little bit of time. We've just had a litter of puppies. It's very exciting. Our little beautiful Bella, who's the smallest of our schnauzers, she had 7 puppies. So we are pretty gobsmacked by that. But life sometimes is a little bit disruptive, but that's okay. What I really hope that helps you to see is that a heart encounter is structured, but it's so incredibly personal, very unique to you. And it's why it's so hard to say what it is because every time it's different. And so it takes a journey of being prepared to listen to your heart, to just give yourself space to sit and let what's there, sitting there, come to the surface and be revealed. But the beautiful thing is that as we do this with, that spirit-led moments, you are never going to be exposed in such a way that is horrific for you, in such a way that it would be embarrassing. It's so gentle, it's so sweet. The Holy Spirit is a gentleman. And what I love is that he doesn't peel away layers in a rough, harsh, slice and dice way. It's very gentle, very sweet, but healing. It's healing. It brings healing to your heart. It brings an incredible amount of good fruit into your life. And I know that one of the things that different ones have shared with me is just the fruit. Candace shares in her interview, she went back to South Africa, where she's from, and visited her family, so she doesn't see them very often these days. And so she went back to her adoptive family, who are beautiful people, and found that with work that she had done in her heart, she had the best time that she's ever had in going back and being in that space. She wasn't triggered by things that she got triggered by in previous visits because there'd been such a deep work and transformation in her life. So what had changed? Maybe her adoptive family changed a little bit, but massively the change was on her side. And she took accountability for things that she could change and that she could bring healing into that space. So a heart encounter is really being able to listen to that still small voice. And I thought today that I would share an action sheet that I had as part of the Beautiful You project was something that I was working with women previously, and I kind of want to chunk it up and make it a little bit different in the way that I was bringing it. But one of the action sheets was called the Still Small Voice, because your heart will be speaking to you. Your spirit, deep down inside of you, is speaking. The Holy Spirit is speaking, and it's not a loud screaming, get my attention voice. It's the still small voice, and learning to listen and connect with the still small voice, and then trust the intuition, trust what you're hearing, trust and act on what that is speaking into your life. That is what is so incredibly powerful. So there's beautiful fruit that comes out of the heart healing journey. A lot more peace, a lot more hope, a lot more purpose. It's an empowering that now I bring into relationships with other people, particularly where there might be manipulation or control at the root of it. I'm able to discern that and see that, and not just react to it and shut down and put my heart into that bubble, but to actually be able to love those people, embrace the person, but not the control, and learning to separate and divide between those things. And that's what the spirit of God is about. It's like that sword that separates, and that's what we want. We want to be separated from those wounds. We want to be separated from those pains, those memories that aren't serving us well, that just keep bringing us back into the negative cycles, into the cycles that just got to break them. They've just got to be broken. And when we do that, we don't have to go back. We'll recognize it. We'll recognize it when we're being lured and called back into that space to react or to be triggered. And look, you make a few mistakes along the way. I've certainly done plenty of that. But going back and using the principles you learn in the heart healing journey, in the heart encounters of taking accountability and not blaming, like the man on the beach, your dogs are upsetting, your tiny little dogs are upsetting my massive big dog. Well, I didn't say it to him, but when he told me it was a rescue dog, I knew straight away it had been traumatized by little dogs. It's not just my dogs that upset his dog. It's every little dog that upsets his dog. And, he had it off a lead and it was bounding around the beach. It was a beautiful looking dog, but it was still traumatized from the memories. And so that is just such a very powerful analogy of what happens when we don't bring healing to our own heart. We just need everybody else around us to change. We need to control everybody else. We need to manipulate them so we don't feel bad and we don't feel triggered. This is not healthy relationships. This is not a heart that's been healed from past wounds and triggers. This is just control and manipulation. Let's say it for what it is. And as we bring healing to the places where our heart has been wounded, maybe by others that have brought control and manipulation, judgments or lies into our life, the heart healing journey can be particularly empowering, and it can help us to step into our purpose. And I'm so sorry Candice's interview did not work today, but Candice is stepping into some new places, some new roles that she would not have imagined she would have the courage and the boldness to step into. But because of the journey she's taken, she's now being able to segue into some exciting opportunities ahead of her, which I'm just so excited for her. I'm so excited to see how the heart healing is manifesting, and not just in empowering her to step into her purpose, but in health and in well-being. The body reflects. There's a beautiful book called The Body Keeps the Score, and it does. When we have brokenness, we have wounds, when we have stuff inside of our heart that is really stopping us from being fully able to step into our true purpose, it will reflect in our bodies. We will have ill health. We will have issues that come out in our body that is trying to get our attention to say, hey, listen. There's something going on at a deeper level that if you really stop and encounter your heart and bring healing to those places. I've seen it in my own body, beautiful healing some of those illnesses, I went to the medical for, and they said, there's nothing wrong with you. We've done all the tests that we can do. This issue in your body is not something that medical can treat. And when I heard that on a number of occasions, it really started to trigger my thoughts about, wow, this whole health thing is not just about a physical manifestation, but it's about an emotional and spiritual manifestation that as I brought healing to my heart, I was also experiencing healing in my body, which was a beautiful fruit to be enjoying. Well, thanks for joining me. Come Taste and See workshop today. It's all about, in the next few weeks, just joining and seeing, is this something that might be helpful for me? Is this something that I want to participate in? And if it is, I'll put some links down below for the Still Small Voice action sheet that might be interesting and useful for you to have a look at. And also for heart encounters, if you are interested and would like to step into a heart encounter, it's like going to a psychologist or a therapist or a counselor, but it's just a very different process. And so, when we invest in ourselves, when we invest in healing for ourselves, we make a very powerful decision. We make a very powerful choice. And when we invest in that healing, we really pursue it, and we do what we can to hold on to it. When it costs us nothing, we treat it with a lot less value. When it costs us something, we actually really pay attention, and we don't want to lose what we've got. We will fight to hold on to that beautiful piece of healing that we've experienced. And so I just thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening, and reach out if you have any questions in the comments below. Let me know if there's anything that you are curious about. I would love to do that. And if you want to know a bit more about what I do, then come and join the Redemption Mamas Facebook group. That's where I'm a bit more active and, just sharing things that are feeding and nurturing and uplifting and encouraging. And we all need that. We all need that opportunity to really step into a nurturing space, be mentored and supported, and encourage each other. So have a very blessed day or night, wherever you are, whichever part of the world you live in. And I'll see you next week. Lots of love. Take care.